Hi there, my name is Caitlin Bandy and this is my channel BandysBooks, and today it's the 1st of December, so I'm here to talk TBRs. And before we get into the actual TBR, can we just say, holy shit, it's December. We have 1 month left and 2023 is over. Where did this year even go? I feel like I blink once and a whole entire month passes. It is insane how fast this year has passed. So that being said, I'm doing something a little bit different for my TBR this December. Every single month of the year, I tend to theme my TBR around readathons, around a specific genre, around authors from specific backgrounds. After all of these super curated TBRs where I put in thought and kind of planned my reading in advance, I decided that December is the perfect month to do some mood reading. But I'm not just gonna mood read all willy-nilly, whatever I feel like. I have a purpose to my mood reading. So I don't know if you know this, but I am a book hoarder. I have a massive collection of books. So Oz and I have an agreement in relation to my books. And that's, I can have as many books as I want and I can put them where I want as long as they're on shelves. They're not in stacks on the floor or disorganized. He just wants the house to be clean and look nice, which I'm totally on board for that. I want my house to be aesthetically pleasing and comfortable as well. So the problem is that I hauled a bunch of books over Black Friday, and then I got a bunch of books at my local library on their sale shelves, and books just keep kind of finding their way to me, and it no longer fits on my shelves. So I've had to take a real hard line and just decide that I'm gonna start moving books off the shelves. If you haven't been following this channel for a long time, then my rule to keeping books permanently is that they have to be a nice hardcover, and it has to be at least a book that I've rated a 4 or 5 stars. And even with the 4 stars, I'm trying to be more particular. So I'm not just gonna keep any old 4-star. So what that means is all of these books on my shelves behind me, probably about 50% have been read and I've decided to keep them, and about 50% are waiting to be read. So in an effort to move some books off the shelves, make some space for new purchases, make some space just to have space for books that I'll inevitably get in the new year, I have a couple things that I want to clear up. So as you can see here to my left, I have a pretty big stack of hardcovers. These are hardcovers that have been sitting on my shelf for a really long time. Some of them have shown up on TBRs previously, and for whatever reason, I just have not prioritized them and not read them. Some of them have never been on a TBR at all, and they've just been sitting there waiting for the right opportunity. So I've decided that these books have to be read or they have to go. I am going to be prioritizing these books for December. I also have my paperback cart over here, which is full of paperback books. So when I was explaining what I keep and what I get rid of, I do not keep paperback books. If I want a book bad enough to put it on my shelves permanently, then I want to buy myself a nice hardback copy of it. So that said, I end up with all these paperbacks because people give me books that are paperbacks. I find books in little free libraries that I want to read, and I'm like, oh, that's okay, I'll bring home this paperback copy and then I'll pass it on to a little free library when I'm done. A lot of these are ARCs that have been sent by publishers, what have you. So when I first bought this cart, my idea was that this could be overflow. So when I bought new books, I could stack them on here. And then that way I didn't have to reorganize my shelves every single time I brought home a few books. And then, as the cart would fill up, I would reorganize the shelves. But what ended up happening is that I got so many paperback books that they have taken this over. And so it's the same kind of thing. I know I'm not keeping these books, right? And it is double-sided and stacked all the way through. So basically, I am going to mood read to some degree throughout the month of December from this stack of hardcovers and this lovely cart of paperbacks. Now, you may be saying, Caitlin, the math is not mathing. There's no way that you can read all of these books in the month of December. And you would be absolutely correct. No matter how much I read and how much time I figure out how to squeeze books in, there's no way that I'm gonna get through all of this. So this is gonna be something that kind of continues into the new year. I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it yet. And when I come up with my 2024 goals video, I'm sure I'll explain it in more depth. But I think what I'm gonna try to do is just pick 5 books a month from this general area and make sure I'm clearing them off the shelves. So I'm just gonna take a couple minutes to briefly highlight some of the books that are in my read it or toss it stack. And let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, if I should prioritize them, if they were your favorite book or you really enjoyed them and you think I'm gonna really enjoy them. Or likewise, if you really disliked a specific book and you think I should not waste my time, let me know. So I have Songs of Willow Frost by Jamie Ford. I read Daughters of Afong Moy and enjoyed that. So I think I'm gonna like this one too. I don't know why. I've put this on my TBR twice and I just keep kind of like not getting to it. So it's on the do or die. I have Cursed, written by Thomas Wheeler, illustrated by Frank Miller. This is a standalone fantasy as far as I am aware, and apparently it was made into a Netflix series. I haven't heard anything about the series. I've heard very little about this book. It was something I found in a little free library that called to me because I love a good fantasy. So do or die time. The Patron Saint of Pregnant Girls by Ursula Heggie. This was a book that I picked up through Book Outlet. I think it was like on sale and it sounded kind of interesting. Same thing, been on my shelf for a really long time. Then I have The Winter Station by Jody Shields. This was something that I think I found in a book sale at the local library. I didn't know anything about it. We'll see. Then I have The Snakes by Sadie Jones. I actually don't even know what this is about. It looks like it might be a psychological thriller about a married couple. So I'm hit and miss with thrillers. We'll give it a shot. And then we have Needful Things by Stephen King. I think the thing that puts me off is like, look how thick and meaty this book is. And then I have The Diver's Game by Jessie Ball. This is a dystopian fic in which the world is split into two groups. We have Pats and Quads. The Pats have power to kill the Quads, but the Quads are not allowed to retaliate. And I feel like this might actually be super relevant to kind of some of the things that are happening in the world right now. So I might actually prioritize this. This is another book that has like shown up on TBRs over the years a couple different times, and I've just never gotten around to it. I don't know anyone that's actually read it. It's a very interesting cover. I don't know what it is, but I think I'm gonna get to this month. I have Small Angels by Lauren Owen. This is a book that I got through Book of the Month. It is kind of horror-esque. I actually started this book. I got like a third of the way in and then I kind of just put it down. I don't think there was anything that was like wrong with it. It was just an issue of like other things were more interesting at the time and I kind of forgot to go back to this one. So I'm gonna try and finish this one up. I have The Immortalist by Chloe Benjamin. This is a book that is about 4 different siblings who have learned when they're going to die and how it affects them. I've heard kind of mixed reviews about this book. I love the cover of it. I love the summary of it. It sounds really interesting. I definitely want to get to it. I have Out of the Easy by Ruta Sepetys. I think this is a thriller set in New Orleans. I love New Orleans. I like a good thriller. I've heard good things about Ruta Sepetys. This would be my first time reading her work, so hopefully I'll get to that one. 1, 2, 3 by Lori Frankel. Not sure what this one's about. Looks like it follows a set of triplets. So another one that, you know, it's been on my shelf for a long time. I feel like when this first released, I was seeing this on social media a lot. And I think that might have been why I picked it up, is I felt like it was kind of a hyped book. And then I just never got around to reading it. In my second appearance of Stephen King, I have Insomnia. This is one that I actually really do want to read because it sounds so creepy. But again, look at this. Look how big this is. I'm gonna say this is like 1,000 pages. Okay, not quite. It's about 800 pages, but even still, can Stephen King just write a book that's a normal size, like maybe 300, 400 pages? And then I have Please Miss by Grace Lavery. This is a nonfiction story about Grace's life as a transgender person. I got this book through Seal Press and I've read little bits and pieces of it, but I've never just sat down and read the entire book. I've heard kind of mixed reviews about this. Some people really love it because it's kind of punk rock and all over the place and chaotic, and some people don't love that chaotic style. I'm not sure where I'm gonna fall with this, but I think it's time that I finally pick it up. And then I have The Last Thing He Told Me by Laura Dave. I think this is a thriller. Yeah, it's a thriller. I think it's a domestic thriller. It was a Reese's Book Club pick. I've been finding that domestic thrillers just really aren't my jam. So this is probably like the least exciting book on this entire list. If I get to it, I get to it. If not, goodbye. And then I have At the Wolf's Table by Rosella Postorino. This is about a young woman who is left destitute during World War II in Germany. Her partner and her father are both away at war, and she is struggling to survive. An SS officer reaches out to her and asks her to be a food taster for Hitler. So she is essentially trying bites of his food to make sure that it is not poisoned. The concept for this sounds really interesting, and I actually really love historical fiction. It's one of my favorite genres. So I'm not sure why I haven't picked this one up yet. I think that perhaps I'm just feeling a little bit of like fatigue with World War II historical fictions because there's so many, like every single month there's 3 or 4 new ones and they're all good. They're super powerful. I'm not saying it's a bad like subgenre to read from. It's actually one that I've read probably more historical fiction from than any, but I just think that I'm at this moment like craving historical fiction set in places and times that I'm not as familiar with. And then I have another book from Ruta Sepetys. This is Salt to the Sea. I've heard good things. I think this one is also a thriller set in 1945 during the winter, and it follows 4 teenagers with 4 secrets. Then we have The City and the City by China Mayville. So I love fantasy, and I have periodically looked up like, the 100 best fantasy books ever, or the 50 fantasy books you should read before you die. And I follow a bunch of fantasy channels here on YouTube. And this author comes up fairly frequently. I have never read them. I had honestly never heard of them prior to like a year ago. When reading their descriptions of their books, I just wasn't sure that it was going to be my particular style. But I found this particular book at the library book sale, and it was like $5 to fill an entire bag full of books. So I was like, you know what, for that price, I can gamble on an author I'm not familiar with. So we'll see. I do want to read this and try them out because they have a whole bunch of other books they've published that are supposed to be really, really good. And then I have Small World by Jonathan Ivisan. I actually just picked up his newest release through Book of the Month, which was And Again, I think. This one is a historical fiction set in California during the gold rush. I think that the only reason that I haven't delved into this is like that's probably the least interesting period of time for me. I'm not big on Westerns. I'm not big on cowboys and like digging for gold and all that kind of stuff. And I know that there's tons of really great books that are set in that time period that explore that particular issue or that particular topic. And I always feel similarly when I'm faced with one of those types of books where I'm like, this could be really well written and it could be a super interesting book, but it's just like a piece of history that's just not that exciting for me. I think because I grew up in California and I heard so much about the gold rush like in school and like did so much learning about, the 49ers and like, the search for gold and, how the West became the West. And so it's just, I don't know. But I would like to read this. I think this is a good author. I feel pretty confident that this is going to be a good book. I just have to like get into it. And then I have The Septembers of Shiraz by Dalia Sofer. This follows a man. So we have the Iranian Revolution, and post-revolution, this man who is a jewels dealer is wrongfully accused of some sort of a crime, and he basically disappears. And it's about his family dealing with his disappearance and him dealing with it. This sounds really good. I've read several books with similar themes and similar topic. I think I picked this one up initially because I was really drawn in by the cover, and then I started reading the description. It sounded interesting, but it's also been languishing on my shelf for a long time now, so gotta get to it. And then I have The Swan Thieves by Elizabeth Kostova. This is a book that I picked up in San Diego at the Santa Fe Library used bookstore. It's my favorite like library bookstore ever. It's as big as a regular bookstore and they have a great selection. So I came across this cover. I was really drawn into it. I think I was drawn into this one because this focuses in on an artist who has like a mental snap and he blames it on a woman. So I'm really curious to see where this goes. Is this gonna be like an exploration of psychology, a romance, a mystery? Like there's a lot going on with it and it sounds really interesting. I think I've been putting it off because it's a little bit of a chunker too. Maybe not interesting enough to prioritize over all these other books. So same thing, either we get to it or it goes. Now, I'm obviously not gonna go through this entire cart of paperbacks because we would be here for like 4 hours. So I'm just gonna highlight a couple of paperbacks that I might be trying to get to. So I have Milkman by Anna Burns. I, as you can see, have stuffed a bunch of papers in here. I took this with me on my trip to Guatemala to read, and I think this was the wrong book at the wrong time. This is the type of book, because of its experimental format, that really requires like very dedicated focus to it. And while I was on these like long death-defying bus rides from place to place in Guatemala, was just not the right place for it. I needed something a little lighter that I didn't have to concentrate so hard on. And so I got about 50 pages in and I kept having to reread pages because I'm like, who is this person? The thing is that nobody in this book has a name. Everybody's like third brother, first brother, you know? And so it's easy to get lost, like even if you're perfectly focused, but when you're like on a bus swerving through mountain roads, it's even harder to focus enough really. So I'm gonna give this a new shot. I have heard so many good things. So some of the other books that I'm really looking forward to potentially reading would be like The Fury by Alex Michaelides. I was recently sent this by the publisher Celadon. I am a little skeptical because I have read The Silent Patient and The Maidens and I disliked both. I was honestly super underwhelmed, especially the way that everybody raves about Michaelides. So this is going to be my third try, and honestly, if this book doesn't work out for me, then I'm probably not going to read anything by Alex Michaelides ever again. I think I am also looking forward to Notes on Your Sudden Disappearance, The Spanish Daughter up here. This looks like a really good book, historical fiction. I think it's set in Spanish Revolution. I have a couple books on my cart by Kate Quinn, The Alice Network. I think I have The Rose Code on the other side. I love her writing, so I'm looking forward to getting into a couple of those. I actually have an Amish baking romance down here for some reason, which I don't read romance. I'm not into like specific types of romance or like cozy things. So maybe I'll give that a try, or maybe I'll just like automatically skip that. And then I have some really good books on this side too. I have Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. Love S.A. Cosby. Definitely looking forward to getting into this one. I have this book here by Colm Tobin, House of Names. I've heard good things about his writing, but I've never read his yet. I have Native Speaker by Cheng-Rae Lee. I've been wanting to read a book by Cheng-Rae Lee for a long time, so I think we'll make that happen. Something that was recommended to me, which is definitely outside of my usual taste, would be The No. 1 Ladies Detective Agency by Alexander McCall Smith. My mom swears that I'm gonna love this. I have Catch-22 by Joseph Heller over here. I did not enjoy this in school, but I think I want to give it a reread and see if I appreciate it more as an adult. I have N.W. by Zadie Smith. Never read a Zadie Smith novel, but she's the talk of the town right now with her recent book, The Fraud. So maybe I'll give this one a try. I have a couple like modern classics, The Virgin Suicides, Girl Interrupted, lots of stuff to choose from, honestly. So I should be able to pretty successfully mood read throughout the month and hopefully kind of clear out some space. So hopefully you found this video interesting. I know it was a little bit different than my typical TBRs. This is like really more a mountain of possibilities. I think I've said before a pile of possibilities, but this is literally like a mountain of possibilities here. I should be able to mood read pretty successfully throughout December, and hopefully I will be able to clear a good chunk of books off of my shelf. Hopefully you'll be along for the ride too, and you can encourage me to make sure that I am picking books from these stacks, because I am like that dog in the movie Up. I'm like, squirrel! Basically, as soon as I see that new releases are out, I automatically want to read those. I want to listen to them. They're all flashy and shiny and pretty, and these books are all flashy and shiny and pretty too, and I need to prioritize sometimes moving the books that I already have instead of like getting all the new stuff. So that being said, if you liked the video, hit the thumbs up, comment down below, and let me know, do you struggle with rotating your books too? Do you have books that have been sitting on your shelf for way too long? How do you deal with that? Do you like put your foot down and say, you know, nope, I'm either gonna read them or I'm gonna get rid of them? Or do you just let them stay forever? And if you're not already subscribed to this channel, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button down below, as well as the notification bell, so that you never miss a video, and that way we can see each other again soon. Thanks so much for joining. Bye.